Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's Pyromancer here, and welcome back to my channel. Hope you're having a wonderful day, morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are in the world. And hope you guys are doing well. Here we are, Shadowlands shirt rocking, new accent lighting going, new pair of headphones, HyperX, Cloud Flight, because these, while they sound great, and they're pink, and they're fucking awesome, give me audio delay. So, not sponsored or anything, but if you're looking for a solid pair of wireless headphones with a detachable mic, the HyperX Cloud Flight is one to look at. Very, very comfortable, great sound quality. Anyway, wanted to throw that out there because I know some of you guys care about my peripherals. So today I want to talk about not really even the lore of WoW, but I want to talk about WoW and how it plays and why I haven't been playing WoW. Now, I'm not going to be like super Debbie Downer in this video, so please don't expect that as the main content of this video. I just want to explain why I haven't really been playing and what got me into MMOs, what got me into WoW originally, and what I would like to see in WoW, even though I know most of what I'm about to tell you is probably never going to happen. Here's the thing. My first MMO ever was actually not World of Warcraft. It was, in fact, RuneScape. I started playing RuneScape back when I was like probably 10 or 11. This is probably back in like 2006, 2007, when old school RuneScape, as it's known now, was actual current RuneScape. So for me, I've been around MMOs for over close to half of my life. So for me personally, that was my first MMO. I didn't actually originally get that much into World of Warcraft until I was like 16 or 17 in high school. That's when I started making videos about World of Warcraft, and many don't know this, but my first YouTube videos ever were actually all about RuneScape, believe it or not. And I kind of want to compare and contrast World of Warcraft to RuneScape, and I'm going to kind of tie in Destiny 2 as well, because they're all fundamentally different games, and they all play in very different ways. For instance, in World of Warcraft, you control your character with WASD or ESDF, however you have your shit keybound. And you have a bar of abilities, and you use your abilities. You have full control of your character, full access movement, and that's great. In Destiny 2, which is like a shooter, MMO light is what some people would consider it. It's a first-person shooter. So you, again, still move WASD, but you're holding a weapon, right? You don't have this third-person view, seeing everything around you. It's much faster paced than something like World of Warcraft. It's fundamentally just much different. And then you have RuneScape, which is a point-and-click game in a three-dimensional world in arguably the worst looking game of the three of them. I mean, the version of RuneScape that I play is old school RuneScape. The reason I transitioned away from it, ironically, is because they brought out the evolution of combat for RuneScape 3, and they basically gave you a hotbar with action keys, just like World of Warcraft, that you were supposed to use in combat. I basically said, fuck that. If that's what they're going to do, I'm going to go play World of Warcraft. So that's when I kind of went that way and tried that out a couple of years after EOC came out. But I want to give the disclaimer right now. I love all three of these games. And I put a post on Twitter probably 3 days ago saying that Destiny is trash and that I'm going to uninstall it. And I posted that when I was maybe mildly intoxicated and frustrated that I was getting destroyed in the current PvP sandbox. It's just something that's a bit weird for me. I'm still getting used to it. But ultimately, I really like all three games for different reasons. But I'm only really actively playing one or two of them at the moment, and that does not really include WoW. So why don't I play WoW? Well, WoW, historically, if you guys didn't know, I actually used to be semi-mildly, decently okay-ish at raiding. I have a lot of cutting-edge achievements. I don't exactly know how many. I did cutting-edge Garrosh. I did all the cutting-edge Warlords of Draenor raids. I did all of the cutting-edge Legion raids. So I've been around the block when it comes to mythic raids. I've raided in guilds that weren't even in the top 1,000 in the world, and I've raided in guilds that are in the top 100 in the entire world. So I've seen both ends of the spectrum, and I consider myself, when in prime shape to actually play, with the exception of maybe doing simulation craft, a pretty decent player. There's some people out there that will shit talk and disagree, and that's fine, but the numbers speak for themselves. You can still go back and find some of my good ranks today. But that's not the point. The point is that I used to be heavily into raiding in WoW. And ultimately, as I got older and as I took on more responsibilities with not only my personal life, but with my job and with things like having a girlfriend and now having a dog, raiding is very hard to work around. And I think ultimately, one of the biggest downfalls of why I don't play WoW anymore is because I don't raid. But I have to be honest, I don't miss it because I don't really miss having a set schedule, raiding 15 to 25 hours a week. I don't really miss having to do all the cutting edge dungeons and content as soon as they come out to min-max my character, basically forget about the story and lore as it's appearing to me and just try to do things as quick as possible. I think you can find a balance, but the point is I just can't invest time like that anymore. But ultimately now, as a more casual player, and I don't think there's anything wrong with being casual for those of you that are casual, I am now, I just don't know what to do when I log into WoW. Right? I feel like no matter what class I play, the game feels slow. It's unexciting. And I think the GCD change had a big fucking impact on that for me personally. I liked when WoW was fast paced and I could stack cooldowns and trinkets and just go fucking ham for like a minute and then just like kind of taper off and, get a flat line for about, a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes, in some cases 3 minutes, and then just blow my load again. I like that style of gameplay. That's why I play primarily a Destruction Warlock. That's how they've kind of always been played throughout the history of me playing the game personally. And just so you guys, if you didn't know, I did start in Mists of Pandaria. So I'm a relatively, in the grand scheme of it all, new player to WoW, but I've seen MoP, WoD, Legion, BFA, and we're going into Shadowlands. I've been around for almost 5 expansions. So I've kind of played at the fast pace, and I've played at the medium pace, and I've played at the slow pace. So I've experienced it all. But in WoW, it just feels slow and boring. And regardless of what class I play, it just feels the same way, right? Part of the problem, I need to get to the point. Part of the problem with games like Destiny 2 and with WoW is that there's a fucking shitload of recycled content. And what I mean by that is, you will continue to do the same dungeons you've been doing since the start of the expansion in order to get the best gear to do raids and things of that nature over and over and over. And even though there are seasonal affixes and stuff like that, let's be honest, you're doing the same fucking dungeon. It's not changing that much that you feel like it's a different experience. You're doing the same content over and over. And I found that incredibly monotonous. It's like this endless cycle of just throwing away, not even throwing away, but just like phasing out your gear to get new shit to raid. But here's the problem. For me, I don't really have that much interest in pushing high Mythic Plus keys, and I don't raid anymore. So why would I even want to do dungeons? What's the point? See, this is like where I'm starting to realize why some casuals have had issues with World of Warcraft in the past, is because if you're not raiding and you're not like pushing high keys, and I think for the majority of people that do it, at least I would assume anyway, they're doing it from a competitive standpoint, like it's for IO or it's for fucking top ranks or like key times or what, I don't know why people do that shit. I have no idea. I don't do it. And it feels like you're basically shooting for a number on a board of like setting a certain time or things like that rather than actually gaining something for your character. Like I know that there's certain titles and stuff specifically with raiding, once again, where if you finish in the top 100 in the world for your faction, you get a special title for killing bosses like Fame Slayer of Ashara or Fame Slayer of Gahun or whatever the Fame Slayer of Uldir, whatever the fuck that title was that we didn't get. I get that, but it just sort of feels like very superficial in a way that for me is just like not even superficial. It just feels like there's no reward. Like I'm playing the game for nothing. This is coming from someone who has almost 400 mounts, who has done the cutting edge raids, who has collected a decent amount of transmog. And I log in and I ask myself, why would I want to go do a Tal Dazar? Why would I want to go do King's Rest? Why would I want to go do these things that I've been doing for most likely no gain to my character, let alone assuming the idea that I could even get into a high mythic key or like even medium mythic key, because everyone and their fucking mom wants you to have a 2k IO score and 480 item level to get into their group. It's hard to want to play something where there's this kind of exclusion because you've not really played it. And I understand there's always catch-up mechanics. But let me show you something. If you guys have never experienced RuneScape, This is what RuneScape looks like. Old school RuneScape looks like shit. And unlike World of Warcraft and Destiny, this game is not very visual. Like, it doesn't have a high visual fidelity. You know what I'm saying? But the thing that RuneScape does have is what? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 22, 23 unique skills that I can level at any time, in any order, at my leisure. And even though everything in RuneScape, whether I'm chopping down a tree or attacking a barbarian or speaking with an NPC, it's all done with a left click or a right click. It feels nice because even though you're still clicking for your actions, you have a wide variety of different things that you could train and that you could do. It's not really even that, though. There are dozens of quests in RuneScape. The green ones I have completed, the yellow ones I have started, the red ones I have not even started. There are tons and tons of quests in RuneScape. I have 250 quest points. That's quite a lot. I have like 80% of the quests done. And they're all different. And they all have a unique story and unique kind of progression. They all have a unique something that I'm pursuing. Not only that, there are definitive endpoints in RuneScape, right? Out of the 23 skills, you can max them at level 99. 99 is the highest that it goes, and then anything you do beyond that, you gain additional XP, up to 200 million per skill, but you have an endpoint, and when you hit that endpoint, you get things like, for instance, my magic cape, I have 99 magic, I get a special cape that actually signifies that, hey, I have done this. And not only that, I can actually look at this cape. One special ability of having this is that I can right-click it, and I could change my spellbook. In this game, you have multiple spellbooks that you can work with, and it's pretty fucking awesome that you can use this cape to do that, because you basically get a free spellbook swap, which is only available in one of the spellbooks in this game. It's a spell that you can actually cast, but the cape basically lets you do it on the go. You can do this like 3 times or 5 times per day? So by doing this grind, which in some cases can take quite a long time, it's different, I feel like, than WoW, because I have a definitive endpoint. I have something that I can actually achieve. Destiny has the same issue as WoW, where they have seasonal released content similar to like expansions and things like that. And Destiny has expansions as well. And a lot of times you have like a pretty neat little short story that's involved with that. And Destiny is a gorgeous game, so it's fun to just look at. The gunplay is fun, so actually just playing the game and shooting the weapons is pretty fun. The movement is pretty fun. But at the end of the day, you're just farming the same shit that you've always done. It's part of the reason why I stopped playing Destiny, is because I realized that every time season reset, I had to regrind my fucking item level, or my light level as it's referred to in that game. And by doing that, I was essentially, bar the new occasional seasonal things that you can do, like the Menagerie if you're familiar with Destiny 2, or like the Sundial, once you're finished with that stuff, you're just doing the same fucking strikes, which are basically dungeons, over and over and over. You have no real, true, definitive endpoint. And I feel like that's one of those things that RuneScape, I felt like always had, right? And for me, I mean, I have several 99s. I got cooking, I got farming, which is probably my favorite and the one I'm most proud of. Magic, herb lore, crafting, ranging, and hit points. So like, I have several of these skills already maxed out. The beautiful thing about that is I now have them at a level where no matter what I want to do in the game, I know that I will always have the required crafting level to do it. And the cool thing is once you get all these to 99, you get a special cape called the Max Cape for maxing out your character. You have an actual like end point in this game. Another thing that I feel like WoW just doesn't have anymore is when you look at a player, you have no idea what they've potentially accomplished, with the exception of their title or amount per se. But looking at their gear, like there's no point in gear, and there's no economy of gear between players. In this game, that's not the case, because one of the cool things about this game is that there are certain things that you can do that will get you a piece of gear no matter what. This cape that I'm wearing, the Fire Cape, has some pretty nice stat bonuses, and you can only obtain it by doing an activity called the Fight Caves. Now, the Fight Caves, for me, I was probably one of the most nostalgic and terrifying things that I've ever done in a video game, because you fight a very high-level enemy at the end of it named Jad, and if you mess up your strategy, he will literally one-shot you sometimes. You will instantly die, and you would have spent an hour trying to get to this boss, doing 62 waves of enemies, in order to basically fail at the end. But once you complete it, you guaranteed get this item. Now, this isn't the best cape in the game, but it's in the top 3 capes in the game. And at this point, I know that I have secured a very powerful piece of gear that I can only replace by doing further and higher beyond things with my character. And I'm going to be just as happy when I get those things. But the difference is that in this game, you have gear, you have quests, you have skills and levels that you know have a finite progression. There is an end to them. And so it makes it, in my opinion, just much, much more fun to achieve them because you know that you've done it. In this game, there are also achievement diaries that you need to have certain levels of certain skills and you need to have done certain quests in order to finish them. And from them, you get this, you get pieces of a diary set of gear, and each piece of gear, whether it's being worn or not, gives you a special bonus in certain regions of this game, right? So like my headpiece that I have, it's the Kandarin headpiece, and in this whole region of the map right here, even further north, this whole area, I get special bonuses just for having this helmet, just for having unlocked it. It alters the way that I can interact with the world around me. I have an agility skill, which I can train that allows me to take shortcuts around the world. Any of these things that are marked with these green, arching arrows, if I get a high enough agility level, I have a shortcut now where I can go between certain places on the map that I couldn't before. These are things that just don't really exist in WoW. You don't have this recognizable gear, and you certainly as hell cannot trade the gear among players. There are certain pieces of gear in this game, like my gloves, for instance, and my cloak, which come from special in-game activities that I must overcome personal challenges to obtain. But my Bandos chestplate, my Bandos tassets, which are 2 very good pieces of gear, are tradable between other players. And if I were to value these, for instance, I could trade this stuff away and potentially get something different, sell it and get gold, and invest my money into other types of gear or other investments, like dumping money into, say, a skill like construction, which allows me to pimp out my own house. By the way, this game has player-owned houses. This is the thing. This game has so much more content to it, and so much more. It does have more of a grind, but it has a definitive reward than something like World of Warcraft or even Destiny 2. It's vastly different. And I feel like when it comes to RPG elements, which stands for role-playing game, if you don't have that with your character, you don't have those goals that you can unlock, the special sets of skilling gear. If I'm wearing this fishing gear while I'm fishing, I get like a certain percentage extra of fishing XP, right? When I want to go train fishing, or when I'm mining, I have a prospector set that I had to grind to get, but now that I have it, it benefits me anytime I do that skill. Why the fuck is this stuff not in World of Warcraft? Why don't we get player-owned housing? Why don't we get like skill grinds? Why don't we get like achievement diary sets where like after you accomplish a set of goals, you get a special item that alters the way you interact with the world? Why don't you get things like skill capes that show off that you've played the game enough in a certain aspect that you actually can put on a cloak that gives you a special ability and shows people what you've accomplished? It's not always the case that like everyone needs to know what you've done. Like, don't get me wrong, not everyone likes to play for those reasons. But the fact is that you can be level 3. The max level is 126. I'm level 106. You can be level 3 and max out all these skills and be a level 3 max skiller, and it's wildly impressive. It's a specific, unique, and special way to play the game that doesn't hinder other people, right? Like, you can do whatever you want, and that's kind of, I feel like, what an MMORPG should be. Just so you guys know, this game does have raids, and there are mechanics. Yeah, you click around, you attack certain things, you use certain items to accomplish certain things, but there are raids in this game. So it's not like you're necessarily losing out. The only thing about this game is it looks like shit. If this game played and to be honest, sometimes I actually like that. For me, there's definitely a certain level of nostalgia at putting on, this gear and basically saying, holy shit, I remember back in the day, this was insane to have this kind of gear. So for me, it goes much further beyond that. But the point that I'm trying to make is the substance of a game and the reason for which you play it is the core of the game, right? What is it that you're playing for? Why are you playing? Is it just for fun? And if it is just for fun, how does one define what fun is, right? Everyone has like a different idea of it. But at the same time, running fucking underrot and doing time walking dungeons to get mounts that I'm ultimately never going to ride because I have mounts like Invincible, and let's be honest, that's what you're gonna ride. Doing all of that shit, I feel like in WoW for me at this point just fucking amounts to nothing because I'm just doing the same dungeons I've always done. I don't raid because I don't have the time. In LF, I mean, sure, you can do LFR, you can do normal, but at the end of the day, like, the game plays so slow, you know, it's I feel like when I started playing WoW, it was much different. Like, getting to max level for me was different in MoP than it is now. And leveling alts was different, and doing dungeons was different, right? You had challenge modes, right? You could do the same dungeons you'd done before, but the stipulation was if you didn't do it in time and you didn't kill enough ads, you didn't get the cool set of gear at the end of the day. You had to go through and do all the dungeons, and I have both challenge mode unlock things. I have full golds for all challenge modes for Mists of Pandaria and for Warlords of Draenor. And you bet your ass I did them. It's shit like the Mage Tower that we need more of. Not fucking island expeditions and boar fronts and fucking just monotonous dungeon grinds for the sake of saying you have a big fucking E-peen so you can get into plus 10s. Like, what the fuck, man? It's infinitely frustrating that I know that I've played on the level that I'm probably better than the people who are trying to get like 1.5k and 2k IOs for, or even, you know, I don't know what a good IO is, to get in their group to prove that they're good enough to like do the dungeon. It's all like stipulated by a fucking number. It's worse than like old school gear score. It's the dumbest shit I've ever seen, and it makes the game like not fun to play. Because outside of dungeons and PvP, which is just, I'm a warlock. Like, there's been times in the past where warlock PvP was amazing. Right now, I don't feel like is one of them, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not playing it right. Maybe I'm not playing the right class or right spec. Whatever the point is, it just feels like it's gotten to the point of monotony that is like irreparable. Something needs to change. There needs to be like some kind of individual goals besides just like the same shit over and over. Even questing in World of Warcraft is just the same shit over and over. Kill 6 of these, collect 10 of those. Go save this guy that for some reason was scouting in Nazmir by himself. What a fucking great story. Like, as I've said before, the game isn't what keeps me around WoW anymore. Not even remotely. It's the story. And since basically the middle and end of Legion to now, it's been the story. Without that, fuck, man. I would uninstall WoW. Because right now, I don't think it's worth playing. And people are like, aren't you hyped for 8.3? And, you know, the cynic in me is like, honestly, not really. Because they've played out this N'Zoth ship for so fucking long. And now we're just going to re-originate Beam him? What the fuck is that shit? Come on. If that's real... God, it makes my fucking brain hurt thinking about it. So, again, I'm not saying WoW is bad because everyone enjoys the game differently. But I'm just saying from an RPG standpoint, those aspects of actual role-playing, customizability, and things that you can do with your character, things that are meaningful in the long run, things that you can actually strive towards and unlock that are permanent benefits to your character, are almost just not there. One of the only things that exist in that manner in WoW is things like talents. Once you unlock the talent, you have it for good, that's true. But in fucking 4 patches or an expansion from now, they might just, I don't know, take it off the fucking talent tree. Or they might just take baseline abilities and turn them into talents and then slow the combat down by 50%. So that's just where I'm at with WoW. I don't want to play it until Shadowlands because BFA, I got to eat my words because I made a video at the start of BFA where I was like, will BFA be bad? And I was like, no, BFA is going to be fucking awesome. And from an art standpoint, from a raid standpoint, like things like that, it was great. But the core gameplay loop of BFA is fucking dog shit. And I was definitely wrong about that. So that's an unfortunate truth in my eyes. And I hope that it gets better because the lore can only hold you in for so long. So yeah, and it's the same thing. It's the same thing with Destiny. So rant over. If you guys made it all the way to the end of this video, and you enjoyed yourself, you enjoyed listening to what I have to say and comparing, maybe learning something about some games that are out there that you're like, okay, well, that would be kind of sick that WoW had that, please leave a like on this video. It's the best way to support my content here on YouTube and let me know that you enjoyed what you watched today. If you didn't like it, well, you should still hit the like button anyway, because I'll give you BJ in the alley after work. That's not true, but I will. Yeah, that's pretty much that. If you guys don't know, I do have a Twitter and a Twitch. You can find links to both of those down in the description below. I'd appreciate it if you guys would follow me over there as I post and stream some WoW stuff sometimes, talk about lore and all that. I spend more time talking about WoW than I do playing it. And if you guys don't know, I do have a Patreon. Thank you so much to all my Patreon supporters. You guys are what makes this these videos possible. This amazing camera, this new accent lighting that we got, all this awesome stuff that we have. Thanks to you guys. So appreciate it. You guys can find my Patreon link down in the description below. With all that being said, you guys, if I came off as just like shitting on WoW, I'm really sorry. But like, you can only bend so much before you just break and just give up on something. So I hope the Shadowlands remedies in some capacity some of the issues that I have with WoW. But at this point, I just find it fucking boring. So I appreciate you guys very much. Thank you so much for watching this video. Stay awesome, and until next time, I'll see you guys later. Peace!